Live right here on SportsGrid. It's Kevin Walsh, it's Tom Vecchio, and of course Coach James Young as we take a look at the WNBA. And the league right now missing their top star in Caitlin Clark. The league, though, not missing Clark as much as the Indiana Fever are. The Indiana Fever not having Clark for at least a 4-game window came at what felt like the perfect time. At the Mystics, home against the Sun, home against the Mystics, and at the Sky. Again, you could easily argue that those three teams are 3 of the 4 worst teams in the league, with the Valkyries rounding out that bottom 4. It's not a slight to those teams. Somebody's got to occupy the bottom slots. And if you're the Fever and you're going to be missing their best player, that's going to be the best run for you to possibly have it on. All of a sudden now, it actually feels like maybe you should have hoped that Caitlin Clark missed 4 games where you had no chance to win even with her in the lineup, because apparently the team has no chance to win if she's not in the lineup. A loss at Washington, here's the deal. The Mystics have been solid, actually, to start this season. Better than many projected, even probably myself, who played them to get 15 wins. Because I only played them to get 15 wins. This team looks like they could maybe get into the 20-win range, possibly. Losing at home to the Connecticut Sun is unforgivable. And look, the double-digit number that the books put around the Fever against the Sun was certainly too high. It suggests that if Clark was in the lineup, the Fever would have been laying
18, 19.
A crazy number.
Right, yeah.
And a number that I don't think anybody, again, would have been really willing to lay. Nevertheless, though, the Sun grabbed their first win of the season. The Sun, for the first time, or for the second time this year, stayed within single digits. And again, the first time was at home against the Mystics. The loss, JY, a nightmare for the Fever. But is there a lot of panic since we, of course, expect Clark back at some point?
And what Caitlin Clark's injury has shown me, and she may not be the best player in the world. You know, I think we both agree it's A'ja Wilson. She's definitely the most important. She may be more important than A'ja, because I looked at Kelsey Mitchell, right? Kelsey Mitchell that Tom talked about, I think last week before, was fantastic the second half of the year. But also Kelsey Mitchell has averaged 17.5 points per game or higher since 2020. So she was doing it for 4 years without Caitlin Clark. And this girl goes out and in 2 games has gone 8 for 31 from the floor. I literally took her points flop over 20.5 in both games, saying, Washington, all right, I love Washington, young team, Kiki Arafen, obviously the pride of New Rochelle, Sonia Citron, over not too far from where K-Dub grew up, I think, close, New Rochelle, kind of.
I just went to Iona.
Okay, well, yeah, well,
it's close to where I grew
up. Well, closer to the top, but you get my point. Shout out, New York City, Tri-State area, whatever. What happened against Connecticut, a team that literally could be the worst team, well, maybe not.
My Connecticut Sun.
Your Connecticut Sun. I think it's Chicago Sky, honestly. That's a story for a minute. I just looked at them and said, you know what, Kevin? They dropped their win total from 30.5 to 28.5 when Caitlin Clark got hurt. I'm like, schedule lines up. Take the over. She'll be back maybe by the Liberty game. Maybe they lose the Liberty game, and they have, I think, the Valkyries 2 games after that. Then you bring her back, win 5 out of 7. Here we go. Now they drop it to 27.5, and I'm looking at this team, and I'm saying, all right, where is their win? Can they beat D.C.? Well, I mean, they already lost to them. Can they win at Chicago? Okay, probably. Atlanta? No. New York? No. Connecticut? And then their West Coast trip is Golden State, Las Vegas, Seattle. So even when they get Caitlin Clark back, they're going right to the fire and playing against Las Vegas and Seattle back-to-back. Not back-to-back days, but, 1 day in between. They're in trouble, Tom, and I don't know where they're going to get it because Natasha Howard's been inconsistent. DeWanda Bonner has been good. Kelsey Mitchell should be scoring 20 points a game. Can't do it. And they're supposed to have a better coach in Stephanie White, and they're 2-4 off of real bad losses.
Here's what it comes down to, and I don't want to phrase it of like you have to kind of tread water, because I think that kind of puts in like a too much of a negative light, but I think that's really what it is. Like, you have to tread water between Duanabana, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. Like, they have to all rise together at the same time, right? And it can't just be like, a 20-point performance and 11-point. They all have to be scoring in that upper teens range to not only make up the lack of offense, but also to provide a diversified threat on offense across the board. And that's what it comes down to. It can't just be one player saying, oh, Kelsey Mitchell was great, and I was on her on the opening game, which she didn't hit. Not mad about that, but it can't just be her, oh, you have to go score 25 a game. It has to be everyone scoring at that 20 range in order to give them a shot because, as you said, she may not be, Caitlin Clark, may not be the best player in the league or in the world, but what she is systematically is very, very important for Indiana, providing the space and opportunities because, we've talked about it coming into the season that Caitlin Clark has the gravity that Steph Curry has. Just from a defensive assignment standpoint, that gravity opens things up for other players. So it was a rough 2 games, and it's got to be a team effort from Boston, Mitchell, and Duanabana coming off the bench. I think that's what it is.
So I think my takeaway, especially if this continues, is the Fever have no chance to win the title this year.
Probably.
Because you can't be this reliant on Caitlin Clark. Again, I'm not saying that they needed to cover the numbers.
Win the games.
You can't lose to the Connecticut Sun at home.
And that score,
awful loss.
And that score was based on them making a run in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They were down double digits going into the fourth at some point.
Now, part of the reason, though, the caveat I add is if this continues. Because I think here's the thing. There are a lot of new pieces. It's a brand new coach. And Clark is the everything for this basketball team, right? Clark passes a lot, but the ball's always in her hands, right? The usage rate is incredibly high, so it's really different. So dropping that first game, again, at Washington, okay. Occasionally, then, what a team will do, lose at home to the Sun, and you get clipped. You're like, all right, now we're 2-4. If they lose this next game to the Mystics, then, again, no way they're winning the title. And at that point, like, what is really the trade-off for this helps Clark's MVP case? Because now you're a 2-5 basketball team. And will the WNBA voter pool look back on this time period and go, remember when they were useless without her for 4 games? But you thinking, not if they're like just a 500 basketball team.
And I think that's what it comes down to is if let's say they lose a game and go Washington 2-5, they should beat Chicago 3-5. Lose to Atlanta 3-6.
They should have already won the first 2 games of this stretch.
I know, but here's the thing. It's 3-6, lose 3-7 New York, right? Then maybe you get Caitlin Clark back to 17th, and then you start to get on a run before you go to Vegas. 2 in a row, lose Vegas, Seattle, and then it's Los Angeles, Dallas, Vegas at home, Los Angeles, Golden State at home, Atlanta at home, Dallas at home. They could flip it quick, and it coincides with when Caitlin comes back, and then the narrative is, oh, they came back. They look better already.
Listen, the other thing, though, that I think is tough with this situation, we think she'll be back by X time.
Yeah. You don't know.
The Fever ultimately, unless they're insane, will not play her until she's 160% ready to go because you cannot run her out there early and then she gets another injury in mid-June and then she's done for the season.
I think it's that game on the 14th. That's 2 weeks. That'll be 3-week injury. It's a nationally televised game. At least ESPN and ABC is going to pray to God that matchup against New York Liberty, she comes back. Sorry.
Let's get into the rest of the W. Previewing, of course, tonight's matchup with the Sky and the Wings here on Sports.
Did you know books tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups. My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Canvassing the WNBA yesterday, Fever Sun obviously sticks out as a big result. I would say for Minnesota Phoenix, if you're the Wolves, the Lynx, 6-0, getting a win out at the Mercury, despite no Nafisha Collier. I understand Phoenix was without Alyssa Thomas. That's an excellent victory. Yeah. Maybe I undersold this team coming into the season. I mean, I guess definitely considering the 6-0 start. The Liberty roll Washington. Teams playing on a back-to-back so far in the WNBA are 2-0 against the number. Both favorites, both dominantly covering. I thought that was interesting to see. But for me, JY, Vegas and LA and Seattle and Atlanta jumped off the page. And I just want to quickly start with Seattle and Atlanta. You know I was all in on the Storm entering this season. I really believe that this group, with year 2 of this core, we're going to take big steps forward. And that win against the Aces was so encouraging. And for this team to lose at Minnesota, but only by 5, you go, hey, look, man, we're going to get there. The Lynx are great. Collier played. To be up 17 at home to the Dream and proceed to lose that basketball game. And now the Storm are going to go on a little bit of a tougher stretch. They've got Vegas next game. 6 games in, but I now don't feel like the Storm were being wildly disrespected in the outright market. I thought you could argue that was the worst loss anyone's had all season, and that's considering what just happened to the Fever last night against Connecticut.
Yeah, it was a tough loss, losing to the Dream, but I also think, Kevin, in a little bit of a sense, me personally, I think I undersold Atlanta a little bit. I didn't think that double big Brittany Griner, Brianna Jones would work, but when you got Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard, you got 2 dynamic guards. You basically tell them, bigs, finish inside, get me rebounds, we'll take care of the scoring, and then you're like, okay, we understand. The sports game was exactly what I thought. I thought it was going to sail over the number. The line that Asia Wilson put on just, you can't explain that to get to 35 on 70% from the floor, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks, and be like, she's not the best player in the world? I mean, that's ridiculous. But what I want to quickly say is the Liberty with that blowout win versus the Mystics. Remember, they were on the second leg of a back-to-back, and they barely beat the Valkyries. And what people forget, who did not play versus the Valkyries, and that's Jonquel Jones. I know she did not score a ton last night. I know she only got you to 14, but she did give you 18 rebounds. I've said this time and time again. I'm going to repeat it again. I've spoken to people in the WNBA. I know officials in the league. People say this time and time again. The most dangerous player on the Liberty is Jonquel Jones. When she's engaged and she wants to play, she is the most dynamic player because at 6'5", shoot the three, block your shot, play the post, rebound. I'm not saying she's better than Stewie, but well, actually right now she's having a better year than Stewie. Jonquel is that important. Go ask Vegas. Go ask Kia Stokes. Where she's got to deal with Jonquel Jones, she gets absolutely run amok. But obviously, you talk about Minnesota. I've been big on Minnesota before the year. I thought they were, the number 2 team in the league. They could be number 1. 5 starters back. No big fish last night. She's gonna have her eyes on the MVP market, and she's gonna start to get more and more minus money. Although I think Asia should be a lot closer than where she is until Caitlin Clark comes back. And I still maintain if Indiana's struggling and Caitlin comes on her white horse and saves the day, it's going to go right back to Caitlin Clark in the MVP market if Indiana can end up as a top 5 team.
Wilson being at 8 or 8.5 to 1, I think is just objectively a good spot to be interested in. If she's going to continue to put up numbers like this with Caitlin Clark out, that number may cut in half, and she may not end up winning it, but you may just have some closing line value if it gets a little bit closer with Clark. Satu Sabali has been great when it comes to the points and rebounds market, really consistent there. And then, again, my Connecticut Sun, Marina Mabry.
Shout out
the points.
Shout out Mabry family.
getting scoring going consistently. Her line the other day was 16.5, 17.5. She's consistently getting the ball in her hands. They may not be good, but we can get some points from a player prop perspective where I dive into things mostly when it comes to the WNBA. And again, listen, if Wilson's going to be hanging at 8 or somewhere number around there,
stupid.
I just think it's a good spot to have because if she continues to put up this level of production and Caitlin Clark comes back, they struggle as a team, it may become more of a 2-horse race between Nafisha Collier and Wilson rather than Collier and Clark.
And did you just try to sneak Marina Mabry into the MVP conversation?
No, I said from a player.
Okay, so that was just
from her scoring perspective.
Okay. I mean, Jersey Shore's in the building here.
No.
I'm saying
from a player prop perspective, it's Satu Sabali with points and rebounds, and then just scoring from her.
But I think there's something with Marina in regards to scoring. She's had
enough.
She's had 3 games with.
What is happening? They're not even playing today.
No. He's just saying.
We were starting the segment about happening yesterday's action.
Yeah.
And I'm saying
it was a whole MVP
Marina,
thing.
shout out to Marina Mabry.
Okay, thanks.
Points.
JY, how about this? Wing Sky is on the slate today. You like anything in the game?
Camila Cardozo. You think I'm gonna say Angel Reese?
Oh.
Well, can't make her layups? No.
Paige Beckers is out. Let's start with that.
Paige Beckers is out. Yes, that's a big one. But listen, they got their first win. It was 23 points, 8 rebounds for Camila Cardozo. Her points props at 11.5. They don't play Tierra McCowan enough. Tierra McCowan, when she gets in, doesn't really care. So to me, look at Cardozo to go over 11.5 points today. I think she'd be able to finish.
Yeah, my interest in the game is actually Angel Reese's double-double number, which is at -130. Rare number. We haven't seen it that low basically since before she started all the double-double dominance early in the season. The only hesitation on the number would be her playing 25 minutes in the most recent game against Dallas. Was that a product of just the flow of the game? Did I miss a moment where she was being checked on for an injury? Because that is not the amount of minutes I would expect out of Angel Reese to play for the Chicago Sky. Now, again, whether she plays 25 or 35, 6 and 9 is not going to be the standard for her. But if those minutes are going to bounce back, then she should have no problem getting to a double-double in that spot. The NBA draft, closer than you think. It's next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups. My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rhythm. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back at it right here on SportsGrid, and the NBA draft. It's going to sneak up on you. And the markets are right now light, but moving a bit. Cooper Flagg's price has stayed steady since we've last talked. Dylan Harper, his number is on the move. And if you would have told me week over week the minus 2,400 price on Harper moved, I would have said, you know what, probably did come down a little bit. It more than doubled to minus a 5,000 price now on Harper to go second. And here's the deal. I think that with all of the chatter we are hearing, I still believe San Antonio would like to trade the pick if the right move is out there. But I now think, regardless of how foolish I find the situation they've backed themselves into with Castle and Fox already on the roster, if the Spurs do not trade that pick, JY, they're going to draft Dylan Harper.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because there is a talk in San Antonio that they believe that the three of them can play together in a 3-guard backcourt. The reason why I think it's the case, and I'm going to keep going back to this, like I said last week or the week before, it's Ace Bailey's measurables don't stack up to what they said at Rutgers. They said the kid was 6'10". He's 6'7.5". And I don't think people understand 2.5 inches is a huge model. And it's also the fact that Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, folks, he averaged 1.4 assists per game. And if you watch him, this guy was taking like Kevin Durant fall-away threes from the corner with 3 people on him and 2 guys open. And he was still taking it. So his shot selection, although his offensive skill set is tremendous, his measurables don't matter. And then there's Edgecombe, which I probably said its name wrong, the kid from Baylor, right? He's the number 4 pick. He's not high enough to go ahead of Harper. So it's almost like you now have a solid 1 in Cooper because of what 3 and 4 are, a solid 2, Tom. And now the interesting thing is the movement for the 3 pick. You've seen the Ace Bailey's numbers start to come down to where it's almost an even money pick if he's the 3rd pick overall.
Yeah, it really comes down to me for team need, and again, we're waiting on whether or not the trade will happen with the 2 pick, right? And again, that's something that we may never know. There's some amount of speculation that it's just, they may trade it. If they trade, who does it go to? And then who does that team need? Because I really think at this point, just looking over some of the NBA draft odds, like there's no value in 1. Maybe there's value in 2. And by that, I mean, by taking Ace Bailey, and a reverse of that would be taking Dylan Harper with the 3 pick. That's assuming a trade does happen, materialize, which we don't know. And granted,
I was just going to say, you and I actually were on the same page of something last week when we were talking about fading Harper in the 2 market, but it was betting him at 3,
right here,
at 50-1. But it's now moved so much. I think people. I don't know how many people heard us say it last week. I'm 1 or 2, but like, I now struggle to even go. I have no interest in betting Bailey or Edgecombe to go second because I don't even know who it's going to be. I don't think it's clear at all.
But we're talking about the theoretical materialization of a trade that we don't know if it even exists or not.
Yeah.
But from a fundamental standpoint, because there's so much uncertainty, I think taking the shot on a Harper, who is now 29-1, not 50-1 as it was last week, that's far more interesting at a 3 rather than going to 2 because the tiers of players opens up at that point.
I don't know if he's moved a lot, but the one that's now becoming interesting to me at 3, if Philadelphia keeps the pick, is Knippel, 8.5-1. Because if you think about Philadelphia, they're set in the backcourt in regards to McCain and Maxey. We don't know how much longer we have Paul George. You have, Embiid hopefully coming back. They need a knockdown shooter to spread the floor. Colin Knippel at 8.5-1. Should Philadelphia keep the pick? Does make sense because I think he fits what Philadelphia needs more than someone like an Ace Bailey.
I feel for Philly. They're, of the 3 teams, 1, 2, 3, Philly is the most likely to trade the pick, right? The world where San Antonio trades the pick is the world where the story is not the pick. The story is whoever they brought back. Philly maybe makes a big swing. I also think there's a world that Philly allows someone to trade up to 3 if Brooklyn, if even just a Utah, like we really wanted a top 3 pick. I think that's all on the board. We're on the board with you here on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series with a rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too short of a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Betting Above the Rim is back right here on SportsGrid. Again, Kevin Walsh, Tom Vecchio, and Coach James Young. And talking a little draft, could there be some off-season swings? The Knicks may or may not fit into that category. We're going to preview, of course, Game 6, our picks, our breakdowns, and what's on the line. But for the Knicks, it feels like, if I would have told you before the year, you made the conference finals, you beat Boston. You'd be like, man, this is fantastic. What a year. This group works. We're trending in the right direction. Now, you probably would have been confused. How did you beat Boston, make the conference finals, and not make the finals? But here we are. Now, the thing is, I would have told you before the playoffs, you beat Boston, made the conference finals. Pretty simple. We lost to Cleveland. It is what it is. They won a gazillion games. Good for Donovan Mitchell. Good for Evan Mobley. No way we lost Indiana again. You can't be doing this to me. Please no, please no, please no. I can't stand Tyrese Halliburton. That's, again, what a Knicks fan is probably thinking. But the way that this has gone, the way this series specifically is played out, a Knicks loss tonight is nowhere near as devastating if had they lost Game 5, but it doesn't mean we aren't going to have some questions around this team. And it feels like the questions are all around the main pieces. A Mikal Bridges trade is not really going to happen unless he's a second part of a deal. OG Anunoby probably going nowhere. I don't think anyone believes you can trade Josh Hart and fix this roster. You're going to move Karl Anthony Towns. Brunson is untouchable. If somebody wanted to give you that, I trade Brunson first. Here's the thing. Even if you have that opinion, it's never going to happen. The other move, maybe the likelier move, is Tom Thibodeau's fired. Likely opening the path for Michael Malone to be hired. The thing is, it's also on the board. None of it happens. Even if they lose here tonight. Maybe the Knicks say it was year one of a new team, and the East is open next year,
no
and
Tatum.
We're going to be right back.
Right.
So, if the Knicks do lose tonight, JY, what does it mean for their offseason and future?
It all comes down to how they lose. I think if they get rolled, and the last thing everybody comes to the Knicks' minds is, a 125-107 loss, then you're going to be like, gotta blow it up. Not going to work. If the Knicks lose 110-106 in the game, last couple of minutes, Halliburton makes a play, maybe Brunson does not, then you're more like, okay, we're going to sit back and say, we didn't have our full team, including a healthy Mitchell Robinson, until the end of the year. And even when we got Mitchell Robinson back, Tom said it best earlier, he's still in the first quarter, looks winded after about 7 or 8 minutes. So we need a full offseason. The problem with that mindset, Kevin, is Mitchell Robinson has always been hurt. Mm-hmm. He's always been a guy that gets banged up. So you can't hang your hat on it. There is the whole thing with Cat, and then obviously moving. If they try to get someone like Giannis on the way back, something like that, because they think it works better with Brunson instead. Yes, there is the running it back, but I think if you run it back, I think, and this may sound crazy, you have to go get an offensive-minded assistant to be with Tibbs. Someone that can kind of take a little bit control of the offense and find a way to get, some people would consider, 2 of the top 20 best players in the world? I would say probably Cat and Brunson, and get them to play together. I know there's been talk locally. Some people mentioned someone like a David Blatt, who is a phenomenal offensive mind, not a strong defensive mind. Maybe put him with Tibbs. He had track record with some of the old Knicks administration. Make him an assistant, have him run the offense, Tibbs run the defense, go from there. Regardless of what happens, if the Knicks don't win, or if they lose bad, there's going to be changes, whether it's add someone to the staff, get rid of the coach, or get rid of Cap, because as long as Leon Rose, worldwide rest, and Rick Brunson are on the bench, Hart, Brunson, Bridges, they're not going anywhere. There's too much of a South Jersey, Philadelphia, Camden connection with Worldwide West and Leon Rose and Rick Brunson that the 3 Villanova guys, Tom, aren't going anywhere.
They wouldn't. And the changes come down to, again, it comes down to how do they lose? Do they lose close tonight? Do they force a Game 7? Do they lose at home? How does this all play out? I don't think there are wrong answers when it comes to making changes. Like if you told me, 6 months from now, or whatever is going into, start of next season, like, hey, the Knicks changed head coach, they traded Cat, they got whoever, and they completely overhauled their bench. I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. And if they changed a little bit about their bench, they kept on Cat because you said it was their first year with the new team, but they just changed Thibodeau, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. You just need a refinement of things. And that's really what it comes down to. So for the Knicks offseason, it starts with how they lose, if they lose. Because even if they do win tonight or they win Game 7, they will still end up losing to OKC. I think we'd all agree with that. And then it comes down to, again, minor refinements in multiple areas. It can't just be one. Like, they have to reinforce the bench. They have to, obviously, get Mitchell Robinson back for the entire season and then maybe make it a coaching change, whether it be an assistant or a head coach. It has to be multiple things. It can't just be like, we're going to change one thing and then, boom, the recipe's perfect.
I think really quick, the one thing that's going to be big coming out of this offseason is the fact that, and there's been talk in NBA circles, you could say manipulated, circumvented, whatever they did. The way Brunson did the contract is going to allow the Knicks, if I'm not mistaken, Kev, they're not going to hit the second apron. They got a lot more wiggle room to do some things with the way how he structured the deal by taking less money than the $100 million
right,
based off of how he did his extension. So the Knicks could say to themselves, okay, we could play the long game here because compared to other teams in the league, we have the better way, Kevin, to maneuver our roster the next couple of years because of how Brunson structured his contract.
My thing with the Knicks and the offseason and the questions, assuming they do lose this series tonight, I think regardless, there was a moment where we were like, Brunson and Cat can't play together. Doesn't work, not your 1-2 punch. Now, that's why the result matters. If they win, I don't know if you can say that about a duo that makes the finals. That sounds
crazy.
Probably not correct. Could you possibly say it if this team loses to Indiana? In a conference finals, it's more on the board. Ultimately, that series against Detroit was closer than I thought it was going to be.
Agreed.
And I thought it was uncomfortably close.
Mm-hmm.
Despite picking the Knicks to beat Boston, the thing is, I love analytics and those things. You all know that, but a lot of vibes went into that pick. You can only win on vibes for so long. And I think one of the things that came out of the Knicks dropping the first 2 games of this series and 3 of the first 4 were Celtics fans sitting there going, nah, we really did not lose to that team. Like, you've got to be kidding me that team eliminated us. And you understood it. And I do think there is a degree. And it's weird how this all somehow is tied to maybe Pacers disrespect. I don't know. But losing to Indiana might undo the good of beating Boston. It just might. And if the Knicks, and we're going to break this game down in its entirety in our next segment, if they lose tonight, and we leave this going, yeah, I don't know if my 1-2 punch can be a big and a guard who can't guard. And if that's the case, then maybe the Knicks, despite making the conference finals in year 1 of this pairing, have to try and move some things around. Who's going to win this game? We'll break it down next.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Sheet cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years. He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Tom, it's like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I'm not saying this thing is scripted, but damn it, they put those two teams on the first weekend of the basketball season for a reason, because they were expecting some kind of fireworks. They got it. Did Angel Reese overreact? Probably. Did Caitlin Clark have to stare it down? Probably not. There's enough blame to go both sides. But guess who doesn't care? That's the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Can the Knicks force a Game 7? If not, no basketball, no NBA until Thursday. Little break, little rest. That actually means for the Pacers, this is incredibly important. The Knicks, if they're going to win the series, have to play 7 regardless. If you are Indiana, you would love to get those extra days to get your legs back under you, because ultimately, it's not that big of a gap NBA-wise. I would say, JY, just quickly, if Indiana's done tonight and they don't play until Thursday, it's not like then the Thunder's advantage going into game number 1, rest-wise, is huge. If this series has to go until Monday night, I think it feels a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's 48 hours is huge in regards to breaks. Not only the fact of, if Indiana wins tonight, they're also at home. They can relax at home. They're there. They probably take off tomorrow, Sunday, and they start their prep, probably leave on Wednesday morning to head down to Oklahoma City to get ready for game number 1. Whereas opposed to if they lose tonight, they have to play Monday night. Yeah. They got to fly home Tuesday. They're barely there for 24 hours, and then they got to turn around and fly to Oklahoma City on Wednesday. So to me, yeah, it presents a bigger challenge for Indiana in regards to rest, in regard if they were to go to a Game 7. I also think, like we talked about, I think there's tremendous pressure on the Pacers tonight to close this series out. This is going to be, listen, when they were down 2-0, yes, they moved to the favorite. They were up 1-0, they were favored. But at some point, everybody thought the Knicks were going to win a couple of games. This was not going to be a 5-game series. When the Knicks won Game 5, they were supposed to. I think this is the first time in the series where there is not just a line, there is tremendous pressure on Indiana. How do they respond? As the first time of them being now expected to win, close it out, send the Knicks home. Regardless of the fact, I expect a really competitive game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks try and really grind this game out. But I do think you'll see some adjustments by Indiana, particularly to get the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands early and often. I would double everything kind of ball screen and make someone else become the secondary distributor. But also, if I'm the Knicks, I'm going to continue to use at times Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, other players to bring the ball up the floor and then give the brunt of the ball on handoff and see if he can attack Tom that way where they can't load up the defense.
So you said the Pacers, this is like a big spot for them to, rebound and respond. And do you think that is partly due to how they lost?
Yeah, I think
because it was a bad game.
It's
not like they game one. If they would have lost, they'd be like, okay, they lost the game on a buzzer beater, they missed it. But if they didn't lose game 5 on a buzzer beater, it wasn't close. Like they played objectively bad.
Well, I think also what was bad about even if they would have lost game 1, they lost game 1
competitively,
but also playing their style.
True.
Like that would have been to me if the Knicks would have found a way to win that game 1 and win that game by 15 points in game 1. I think it would have been a whole different series, not just the fact that New York would have been closing out. They would have beat Indiana in their own game in the first game of the series. I think it's completely different. They lost this game playing the Knicks style. They have to lose to their
because
style.
of that, I think tonight, one of my favorite bets is shaping up to be the Pacers' first quarter spread. I think they got to come out strong. It's just a half a point. It is juiced at -132, but again, how they lost, add in that they're back at home, and this is the pressure's actually on them. They got to come out strong. They got to hit shots. They got to get offense contributions from everyone up and down the roster, specifically in the starting 5, and then you go from there. Like it has to start early.
So I think that the Pacers' run in this postseason, because of how surprising it is, paired with the inevitable loss many believe awaits them if they do make the finals, has led to a real underrating of how dominant they have been, at minimum in the win-loss column of this series. They beat Milwaukee in 5. Now, you can say, they should have beat Milwaukee in 5. I thought it would have personally go 6, but ultimately, they got rid of them in 5. They one loss that they had, the follow-up game, they won by 26. They beat Cleveland in 5. Many believed, certainly hand up here, certainly the odds makers, the Cavs were going to win game 5. They didn't. The one game they lost to Cleveland, they won by 20. They also lost the second half of that game by 20. Plus, remember they were up 81-39 at the break of game number 4? They then lose to the Knicks in game number 3. The follow-up is putting 130 on the Knicks in regulation, winning that game by 9. This team has not lost back-to-back games in this postseason, and the 3 times the 3 times that they've lost where we've now seen the follow-up game, they have scored at least 129 points in the next game. Not average, not ballooned up due to one outlier game. They've scored 129, 129, and 130. So this postseason tells us if the Knicks don't score 130 points tonight, they're losing. So that is where, for me, can the Knicks beat the Pacers
at the Pacers game
while the Pacers play really well? No, it doesn't have to necessarily be at their game, right? Like, you can beat a team 117, 114, right? It doesn't have to be 135, 132, but ultimately, can you both play well and the scales tip your way? So far, no one has beaten the Pacers when they've scored 110 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think something I'm trying to find really quickly here is I think Tom went one way and he said the spread. To me, if I can get a team total points for the Pacers, that's what I'm looking at. 30, 32, 43
in the first quarter.
If the Pacers, regardless of what happens, Pacers are going to run in the first quarter, see what they can do. That first quarter over 28.5 points is what I would look at, even if I think the Knicks are to stay competitive. They're going to run the game and try to push the pace early.
It'll be 4 minutes in, and Indiana will have 14. And Van Gundy on the broadcast will be like, the Knicks got to slow them down. It's like, they're trying, Stan. They're trying. Best bets next.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years. He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Tom. It's like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I'm not saying this thing is scripted, but damn it, they put those two teams on the first weekend of the basketball season for a reason, because they were expecting some kind of fireworks. They got it. Did Angel Reese overreact? Probably. Did Caitlin Clark have to stare it down? Probably not. There's enough flame to go both sides. But guess who doesn't care? That's the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Here on SportsGrid, closing out pro basketball today's betting above the rim. We're having a great time with you here on this Saturday. We, of course, have game number 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. We also do have the Wings and the Sky if you're looking for a little action in the W. And I'll just quickly say, if I'm not mistaken, that game's at 8 o'clock. Can someone please somewhere just flex that thing and put it literally any other times to make sure that it could be viewed a little bit more? It's a standalone slate. I just feel like there was a miscommunication there. Maybe they thought it was Pacers in 5, in which case I actually really respect. What do you say we pass it around here and give you our 3-man weave? Our favorite player prop on the slate. Unless we have a best bet that's a player prop, then this is one of the favorite player props that's on the slate. JY, I'll let you bat lead off.
I'm going with a Pacer.
Whoa.
And I'm going with Benedict Mathurin over 10.5 points. 20 and 23 the last 2 games. This is someone I think Indiana will use, and the fact that he can create his own shot. He also can create himself to get to the foul line. I think Aaron Naismith is, the ankle's bothering him. So I think more playing time, playing better the last 2 games. Benedict Mathurin, Tom, over 10.5 points.
Well, I certainly do like that. I am turning to the W, your favorite player, Angel Reese. Under 11.5 points. It was minus 125 and has moved to minus 130. I would still play it there. I know you do like the double-double for her.
Yeah.
And we can thread the needle here by still going under the 11.5 points. She gets the 10 or 11 and obviously picks up her boards. But the inefficiency, the volume just isn't there. And listen, anytime I can take a good under, I'm going to go for it.
I know you don't mind. I'm surprised by this. I'm surprised that that's – so they've played 5 games. She's gone over that in 3 of the 5. Like, the lows are low. There's a reason she's averaging 9.2 points per game. I don't know if we can thread the –
Yeah, she can get 10 and 11.
That's a very thin
10
needle.
and 12.
I'm aware
10 and 12, baby.
that it's there. I just wouldn't necessarily be banking on it. For me, Tyrese Halliburton over 31.5 points plus assists. Tyrese simply could get this done in just the point category. He's had multiple 30-point performances against this Knicks team in this series, coming off of the single-digit effort. I think it's very likely that he ramps things up. We talk about the Pacers and those bounce-back games that we've seen from them, and in 2 of them, Tyrese has gone through this number with a 17-15 game against Milwaukee, and then, of course, the 32-12-15 that he had against the Knicks. He had a very low statistic game, the bounce-back game against the Cavs. That's because it was a fake basketball game where they were up 81-39 at half, and he only played 26 minutes in that matchup there. Halliburton tonight, no matter how good they're playing, will play more than 26 minutes tonight against the Knicks. I really like him over the 31.5 points plus assists. Best bets, gentlemen?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to the big cat. Meow. Over 22.5 points. Over 4 to 5 games in the series, 3 straight. It was a meow. What are you talking about? Going down over 22.5 points. They're going to play him with that second unit. A little sprinkle on Karl Anthony Towns. Over 4.5 points in the first quarter. By the way, really quick, Tom, saw something really quick. To Kevin's point, Tyrese Halliburton over 4.5 points first quarter is also at plus money as well.
So I don't have any meows for you, but I'll go with Josh Hart. I'll go under 9.5 points. Hart coming off the bench, presumably coming off the bench again with Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup. Like, Hart is there for a little bit of scoring, but more importantly, everything else that he does. Obviously, I would like to see a better defensive effort from him.
No turnovers. But
I would also like the rebounding is what Hart needs to focus in on. And, grab your points while you can, but I'm not expecting a massive double-digit performance from Josh Hart. You can play his rebounds, but give me under 9.5.
I just noticed that it seemingly, I imagine this is our producer, Chris, responsible for the taglines with all these best bets. So I'm racing with the Pacers over the 111.5 for their team total. I've mentioned that the team total for the Pacers throughout this show should be in bounds. It's whether the Knicks can match it or not. It looks like Matt George gets responsibility here. Racing with the Pacers, not taken to heart, is what was the cat one?
What was the cat one?
Best bet up there?
What was the cat one?
No. What was the cat best bet one? Points with the cat attack. This is some show, man.
This is unbelievable.
This is two hours of chaos. Coach James Young, Tom Vecchio, Kevin Walsh. We'll see you when the NBA Finals are underway.
Falcons are actually relieved that he's kind of not there to create more of a distraction. Look, I mean, I said it the day it happened. It was one of the stupider decisions I've ever seen by a professional NFL franchise to sign a quarterback to a $180 million contract and then draft his replacement exactly 5 weeks later. This was a terrible organizational decision by the Falcons. Now, they're going to spin this, and this is what's annoying about the Falcons and their PR staff. They're going to spin this as if this is the plan we had all along. This is the plan that when, Kirk Cousins either got hurt or didn't play well or got too old, we were going to have Penix come in. And guess what? The new plan is now we're going to keep Kirk Cousins as a backup. So if Michael Penix gets hurt, we told you so. We were right for keeping him on the roster. We were smart for keeping him here. No, this whole thing has been an abject disaster.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Steelers' interest in Aaron Rodgers as a joke. Your boy went off about the entire situation and why it taken so long to forget him. Terry Bradshaw getting involved.
Yeah, insane. Basically, what are you bringing him in for 1 year? All of this drama for 1 year at this guy, where he is now in his career is he's washed.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.